Mexico City was formerly an island that fed 200,000 inhabitants from floating gardens called chinampas. During the Aztec Empire, the island in the middle of the Lake Tenochtitlan, now Mexico City, was the biggest and best fed city in the world and completely surrounded by water. They survived from floating gardens that converted the marshy wetlands of the lake into arable farmland. Each garden was 300 feet long by 30 feet wide. To make a garden, workers weaved sticks together to form a giant raft, and then piled mud from the bottom of the lake on top of the raft to create a layer of soil 3 feet thick. The rectangular gardens were anchored to the lake by willow trees planted at the corners. Each garden was lined on all sides by canals to allow canoes to pass with workers and materials. This network of gardens extended for 22,000 acres across the surface of the lake. The floating gardens were companion planted with corn, beans, squash, tomatoes, peppers and flowers. In 1519, they were discovered by Cortes and the Spanish conquistadors, who documented the incredible self-sufficient city before ordering the destruction of the Chinampas floating gardens. Thank you for watching.
Inixki chintopa no mochu, intiquistahque, intiquimehuizohque, techoctin titlaucolti, inik titlayohuihque, auniman inatlacomuli, santen enexcahui.
Usually consisted of around 8,000 warriors and was divided into smaller companies of 400 men called sikipilis. These warriors usually all came from the same village or the same quarter in the capital city. The army was structured like a pyramid in accordance with the rest of the Aztec society, with the king being the army's commander, together with a small group of generals who worked as the king's counselors when strategic decisions were being made. They were high nobility, and the king's brothers were often among them. Under the generals were the officers, who mostly came from noble families, and who had been trained in a special military academy called the Kalmasak, that was exclusive to the nobility. They were tasked with putting the general's orders into action. Under the officers served the regular soldiers, armed with swords, spears, bows, slings, and a weapon called the atlatls, which was a sort of sling that the Aztecs used to throw light spears with. These soldiers made up the main bulk of the Aztec fighting force. In addition to the regular soldiers and officers, the Aztec army also had elite military orders that consisted of Aztec soldiers who had displayed extraordinary fighting skills and courage in battle. They had their own officers and answered directly to the generals. The way a common soldier could join one of the orders was if he managed to take enough captives in battle. If a soldier had taken 4 captives, he was taken up by the Jaguar warriors and thereby became seen as equal in status to the officers. If he managed to take another 5 to 15 captives, he was allowed to join the prestigious Otontin or Kuchik orders, who were even higher in status than the Jaguars. The Aztec military orders were
Before Julio Cesar Chavez and now Canelo Alvarez, there was a great rising Mexican fighter who captured the hearts and minds of Mexicans and boxing fans around the world. Armed with a devastating right hand, elusive movement, and a big heart, Salvador Sanchez was one of the greatest boxers from his country to ever enter a ring, and who, in the opinion of many experts, had he not tragically lost his life at an early age, would have become the greatest featherweight of all time. This is the story of Salvador Sanchez, nicknamed the Invincible Eagle.
The winner and still champion.